Good afternoon. I'm joined again today by Air Commodore Darren Webb, who will update you on the activities of the New Zealand Defence Force. Good progress has been made in aspects of our response, but recent activities have again highlighted the scale of the job ahead. Today I visited the Hawke's Bay to witness firsthand the devastation in the region and to hear directly from those on the ground what additional support they may need from government. To put it really simply, it's very rough up there. There is still no power in Napier, though every effort is being made to restore it as soon as possible. Evacuation centres are still often full with people. Some of them are there to stay, but others simply to pick up supplies or to have a meal. The Esk Valley is full of mud. It's been settling over the tops of grapevines and filling homes. There are trapped floodwaters with nowhere to go, making new lakes out of farmland and settling to destroy orchards and crops. There is still a huge way to go in this response, and there are still small communities who are cut off and isolated. Food, fuel and other supplies are now making their way in by road, air and sea. Generators have been brought in to a central point in Napier, providing power to several supermarkets and a chemist, which is allowing them to be open. Connectivity is returning, but it is patchy, and it's better in some areas than others. We know how vital connectivity is to help families get in touch with each other, and it's also helping us to get a better picture of where support is needed. I want to thank all those who may have been affected by Cyclone Gabrielle, but are still swinging into action to help those that are. Those who have not been affected but are swinging into action to help those that are. For example, the Buller Council's provided 16 Starlink units to help with the connections in Gisborne and the Hawke's Bay. Across the country, we are seeing contributions to those who need it. I saw firsthand today, though, just how much Cyclone Gabrielle is going to affect the whole country. We do need to prepare ourselves for the fact that it is going to disrupt some parts of our food supply. Things like fruit and vegetables and other goods that we're used to getting from these regions are likely to be affected. To see today just how hard people and property have been affected really did hammer home that we're going to be dealing with the effects of this cyclone for quite some time. We now know that 8 people have lost their lives as a result of the cyclone, and our emergency services continue to hold grave fears for others. Police report that there are 4,549 persons reported as uncontactable. A team of 80 people are working now to narrow down this list as quickly as possible and to prioritise contact with those who are most likely to be missing. At midday today, all rapid damage assessments for the Esk Valley had been completed. USAR has identified further areas where it will carry out rapid damage assessments and searches, and these include Pakowhai, Puketapu, Omahu and Miani. I can assure you that we're continuing to use every resource available to search for people who are missing, and a specialist team of first responders from Australia have arrived in the country this afternoon to assist with that as well. So a big thank you to our Aussie friends for helping. There's no getting away from the fact that life on the ground in the affected areas is incredibly tough, and it's going to be for some time to come. Meaningful progress is still being made across a number of areas, though. Power connections are continuing, with about 40,000 more households connected since yesterday. There are now about 62,000 without power. There's a bypass operation underway to try and get power into parts of Napier as quickly as possible. And work will continue on this overnight, and we hope that at least some parts of Napier will have power again soon. Hastings Township is now about 90% connected to electricity, which is up from around 60% yesterday. Havelock North Township is now at about 95%, which is up from about 60% yesterday. Getting cell phone towers back up and running is also a high priority, as we know that there are still many families who are worried about loved ones and can't connect. As at 4 o'clock today, Northland, Gisborne across Northland, Gisborne and the Hawke's Bay, cell tower coverage has been returned to an estimated 70% for call and text messaging. The hope is that that coverage will be restored to around 75% by tomorrow evening for call and text. Data is likely to take longer. Coverage will also be patchy in some areas as these cell towers are being largely powered by generators. As mains power comes back online, it will help us to deliver better cell phone coverage. A number of Starlink units have been deployed into areas most at need. 21 have been assigned to the Hawke's Bay, including 5 for Wairoa. And I'm glad to report that nearly every supermarket in the affected regions is up and running, with large food convoys delivering supplies yesterday and today. Fuel tankers are getting through to the affected areas now so that people will be able to fill up their cars, and many ATMs have been topped up with extra cash. Water supplies are still under pressure in many areas, and urgent work is underway in Gisborne to get safe water back to households as soon as possible, as well as other areas including Whirinaki, Wapatiki and Te Pohu. Several regions have been asking locals to conserve water, so if you are in that category, please be mindful of your water usage. Progress continues on getting roads opened. Dome Valley is now open north of Auckland, and State Highway 2 between Hastings and Napier is also open. Medical supplies are being airlifted into the areas that need them. In Tairāwhiti and Hastings, all GPs and pharmacies are open. The Gisborne Hospital is operating, but with very limited water supply, and the main Napier Health Centre is open and has pharmacy capacity. Wairoa has some GP and pharmacy support, and we're working to get more there for them. Health One is providing support, and they can do remote GP and nurse consultations for those who are able to access telecommunications. Responding to this cyclone and getting our communities back on their feet is going to be a big job, and it is going to take a long time. We are making progress, but I can't overstate the scale of the task that is ahead of us. We're going as far and as fast as humanly possible. We are throwing everything at it, but there is a lot to do. So to everyone helping, to our emergency services, iwi, medical professionals, supermarket and petrol station staff, roading and utility crews, truckies, and everyone to pitching in to provide support to their communities, a very big thank you. You're making a hell of a difference in an incredibly difficult set of circumstances. I'll now hand over to Air Commodore Webb, and then we'll open up for questions.
Thanks, Prime Minister. Firstly, can I offer our sincere condolences to the family and colleagues of the second FENZ volunteer firefighter who lost his life following the Muriwai landslip. Our thoughts are with all those mourning the loss of a loved one following Cyclone Gabrielle. The New Zealand Defence Force continues to have more than 700 personnel deployed as part of our Operation Awhina. We continue to respond to tasks assigned to us from NEMA, and today I'd like to provide a quick snapshot of what the Defence Force has been involved in the past 24 hours by region and what we're planning over the next few days. Let me start on the East Coast. HMNZS Manuanui has made its way to the Tairāwhiti coastal region. The ship dropped off stores and provided support to communities in Tokomaru and Tolaga Bay. The ship was today anchored off Gisborne and is conducting safety assessments prior to entering the port area. A C-130 Hercules has just departed Auckland with a further water treatment plant, and this will help restore water facilities to Gisborne, and it will arrive this evening. It will also have onboard medical supplies, including 80 oxygen bottles and electrical supply parts to assist in the reconnection of power. The LAV, or Light Armoured Vehicle road checks that I mentioned yesterday on the inland road between Murupara and Wairoa have been completed successfully. This will now allow heavy emergency vehicles to move critical supplies into these areas. The team are also identifying areas suitable for helicopters to land and bring in further supplies. Focusing in on Wairoa specifically, we can confirm the water treatment units we moved yesterday are installed and are being tested to ensure fresh water will be available to the community. Right now, NH90 helicopters are flying in vital water pump parts to help overcome the damage caused to the pipes in the region. Beyond the water support, we also have 4 Defence Force staff with communications, assisting the local responders in Wairoa. Moving down to the Hawke's Bay, we can confirm that HMNZ's Te Mana has arrived in the bay. The ship has 26 tonnes of equipment on board, including food, water, fuel, shelters, clothing and electrical generators, and will complete harbour safety checks before offloading supplies. Given the scale of the destruction, the New Zealand Army has established a headquarters in Napier, and that will help focus and coordinate our efforts in the Hawke's Bay response area. We've also deployed our Mortuary Affairs Unit to Napier to support the New Zealand Police. Army engineers are preparing to support the construction of Bailey bridges, or otherwise known as temporary bridges, as requested by NEMA. A further 480 Army personnel across a variety of capabilities from Linton and Burnham stand ready to be called forward on request. These include people with skills such as builders, plumbers, electricians, caterers and transport. I'd like to acknowledge the significant role played by the Defence Force Reserve personnel. These are community-orientated people who live and work in the regions and answer the call to help when asked. Yesterday, reservists from Hawke's Bay's 5-7 Battalion were able to reach a marae in Puketapu, where around 200 residents were sheltering. And they told the soldiers who delivered water, food and diesel that they were the first outsiders they had seen in days. Our 3 NH90 helicopters have been busy continuing with evacuations and transporting people and emergency supplies throughout the wider region. In terms of additional capabilities, HMNZS Canterbury has completed tasks in the sub-Antarctic islands and is now returning to New Zealand. The ship will be in Lyttelton by Saturday or tomorrow and available for movement of stores and to support to the Hawke's Bay region. Canterbury is an extremely versatile and capable ship. It can carry 33 shipping containers, 270,000 litres of water, and can produce a further 70,000 litres per day. And it also has a Sea Sprite helicopter on board. With a better picture of the range of emerging tasks, we have now reached out to our colleagues in Australia to seek some additional help. At this stage, we are finalising the details, but anticipate an additional aircraft and support staff will arrive early next week. This will ensure continuity of support through this period of extremely high tempo operations. As the extent of this disaster becomes obvious, again, I'd like to assure New Zealanders that your Defence Force remains committed to responding to the needs of all of the communities of New Zealand. Prime Minister.
We're going to open up for questions.